Hey, Dr. Mike here. So if you want to live forever-ish, you have to know what's in and what's not. Stay tuned to find out.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Forever-ish. And as a matter of fact, if you want to live forever-ish, this is our show where we do 3 ins and an out. 3 things you want to do, ins, and 1 thing you don't, an out. Right, Dr. Crystal?
That's right. Live forever-ish and improving your health span, healthier years, more years of living.
Vibrant.
Yes.
Strong. Muscles.
All of the above.
Everything.
Right? Cognitive health. We'll talk about that today.
Yeah, twice. Right?
Yes.
Twice. Okay, well, let's just get into this. Ins and outs. Let's do the 3 ins first. In number 1, if you want to live forever-ish, is cold water swimming, specifically about women.
Yes,
Tell us
women's
about it.
health. Oh, okay. So I saw this study and it was like, yes, Dr. Mike, we have to talk about this study. January 25th, hot off the press. This is 2024. Just want to make sure we have
Nice
the
nice.
branding
Yep.
there.
There you go.
And we just did a show, our live show.
Hot and cold therapies.
Hot and cold therapies. Yeah. And the day before we were doing our live show, we saw this study. And it's just highlighting more benefits of swimming. A survey study. So let's just be clear that that this is really looking at the perception that women
That's fine.
have
I get that.
when they are swimming in cold water.
But that's key here. We're talking about cold water. We're not talking about a heated pool.
No.
We're talking about what temperatures are we? What do we have that? What temperatures?
Let's see. I do not have the temperatures.
But so cold water, I mean, the average pool for comfort is what? 85. So you're talking probably in the 50s, 60s, something like
yes,
that.
Yes, these are women who live. I do remember. I feel like maybe they were in Maine, but I don't want to misspeak. But they were somewhere in a cold region.
Okay.
And they swam regularly. And the objective of the study was to determine how women felt cold water swimming affected their menstrual and perimenopausal symptoms. And I pulled out some of the results, but just kind of looking at the full text of this study. Again, it was published, I don't think we said this, in the journal Post Reproductive Health. It's open access. Mm-hmm. So if you go to Post Reproductive Health, type in cold water swimming, you can find the full study. And it's just fascinating to see how the swimming improved all sorts of cognitive benefits. I mean, it's hot flashes, night sweats,
irritability, low mood, anxiety. I mean, this is pretty
unbelievable.
It's pretty significant. I mean,
results.
We're looking at in the 40% range of improvement on many of these things.
Right. So there was an online survey to these women, 1,114 women who regularly swim in cold water. And so they just asked about their experiences, questions related to cold water swimming habits, and menstrual and perimenopausal symptoms were analyzed. And the main outcomes, frequency of menstrual and menopause symptoms, and the effect of cold water on those symptoms, and just the benefits. Improvements, notably improvements in their psychological symptoms.
Yeah, I'm seeing that here. Yep.
Anxiety, 46.7% improvements. Mood swings, 37.7%. Irritability, 37.6% improvements.
I mean, that's just swimming. That's just being active. It specifically cold. So what do you think the cold is playing here? Like, is this... because we've done some shows on cold.
Yes.
We just mentioned we have one on cold therapy. There are benefits to that. Now that's real cold stuff. That's cold immersion stuff.
Right.
That's cryotherapy. But do you think it's the cold or is it just the exercise?
No, it's the cold. Because there were some different mechanisms proposed by the researchers with the swimming. And just being in that exposure to that cold temperature, how it's maybe regulating the hypothalamus pituitary axis. Cold water swimming triggers cutaneous vasoconstriction,
Okay.
which may counteract the vasodilation, causing some of the
Makes sense.
perimenopausal symptoms such as hot flushes. So, it's
Night
it's one of
sweats
those
and stuff
things.
like that. Yeah.
And it's the women specifically stated that they swam specifically to reduce their symptoms. So it wasn't like, I mean, some of them they swim because they like to swim in the cold, but these women recognized that when they would
felt
do
better,
this,
yeah.
they felt better. So they are swimming
That's good.
in
That's
cold
cool.
water on purpose. And they feel better.
And there might even be some additional benefit too, right? Because we've talked about cold water therapy and cold therapies.
Right. So if you live in a coastal area, go to the beach in the winter.
I grew up in Southern California.
Oh, and it's always cold there,
it's
right?
always. I can't remember the temperatures, but the key thing we would just run right for the water and just jump right in and just get in there because you get used to it quick. Yeah. Anyways, okay, so that's cold water swimming for women's health. Let's look at in number 2 for Living Foreverish. I like this one.
Yeah, I know you really you looked into the study.
Yeah,
You're all excited about it.
multivitamins. Because it's the thing about multivitamins. It's hard to take a multivitamin and do a study and say that there's improvement and stuff because there's so many things within that in that multivitamin, right? And so it's you have to collect a lot of data, basically, a lot of support for multivitamin use, and I'm happy to say that is happening. It does seem to be more and more we're seeing good reports on multivitamin effect in people, and this one is all about cognition and memory and stuff like that. So what did you find here? What did you find interesting about this one?
Well, there's several things going on in this study. It was kind of challenging to kind of get through the weeds of it, but ultimately, the main outcomes that were so impressive were meta-analysis of 3 studies, and those the results show that there was an improvement of almost equivalent to decreasing cognitive aging by about 2 years.
It's pretty cool.
In individuals who regularly took a multivitamin. Now, this is a study where they're looking at, there was a larger population study. The purpose of that study was comparing multivitamins or a multivitamin mineral formula to cocoa extract.
Yeah.
And the outcomes they were looking at were related to cardiovascular disease and cancer. But a part of that study, some of the individuals took in-person neuropsychological assessments as a part of that larger study.
Cosmos trial is
exactly.
what it's called. Yeah.
And so about 573 individuals had completed those cognitive tests at baseline. And that is what created kind of researchers then starting to say, well, let's take a look at those people who completed.
You have the baseline. Yeah, why
right.
not?
So what we're reporting on now is called Cosmos Clinic, and it's the 3rd evaluation. It's the 3rd study of individuals looking specifically at cognitive health in that group that took the baseline neurological assessments. And so then they pooled the results from those 3 studies to come up with I guess a broader conclusion.
These findings within the Cosmos trial support the benefit of a daily multivitamin in preventing cognitive decline among older adults. I mean, that's a nice conclusion.
Yeah, it's so simple, it's easy to do, and why not?
So, but here's the thing. You and I, we're supplement users and takers, and we both do a decent amount of those, and but we always say, I mean, our foundation begins with the multi, and so I think there's a lot of people out there not doing a basic thing like a multivitamin, And it could be so powerful. Even when people say things like, "Well, I'm eating healthier and I'm getting all my nutrients from there." Maybe. Yeah, it's great you're eating better, but with the food chain, soil conditions, I just think a multi is a great way to fill the gap.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And here's some further support in older people for cognitive health.
Yep. Global cognition as well as episodic memory, kind
Yeah.
of remembering things from the past.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's nice. Well, most cases. This was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. You can check it out January 18th, 2024. All right. In number 3, olive oil and dementia. We have a new study that suggests regular olive oil consumption may lower the risk of dying from dementia. This was presented at the annual meeting of the American Society for Nutrition. This is part of the Nurses' Health Study, right? That was a huge, 60,000 plus.
Right.
people.
So a couple of studies. So they were, again, this is more observational research. They used about 60,000 women enrolled in Nurses' Health Study and about 30,000 men enrolled in the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study. And every 4 years in these studies, individuals responded to questionnaires about the foods they ate, including olive oil and fats.
Yeah. Nice.
And so there were about a 28-year follow-up and about 4,749 deaths from dementia. And so now you say, okay, we have this data. This is our starting information. Now we can look to see how many people or let's look at the diet of those individuals who suffered from dementia and passed away. And what they found is consuming just over a half tablespoon of olive oil was associated with a 28% lower risk of fatal dementia compared to consuming it rarely at all.
That's not much.
So
I mean, if you make a dressing out of olive oil, you're putting more of that in. So daily, vinaigrette with olive oil.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So to me, it's just speaks to keep olive oil on hand, cook with it whenever you can. Keep it on hand, cook whenever you can.
You just came up with that. That's nice.
But other data, in addition, replacing just 1 teaspoon of margarine and mayonnaise with the equivalent amount of olive oil per day was associated with an 8 to 14% lower risk of dying from dementia.
Yeah. Yeah, and the relationship exists here regardless of overall diet quality. It's impressive.
So when you look at what these people were consuming, even the ones who consume not so great diets, if they regularly consumed olive oil, then they had a lower risk of dying from dementia.
Yes, so the authors concluded some antioxidant compounds in olive oil can cross the blood-brain barrier, potentially having a direct effect on the brain. It is also possible that olive oil has an indirect effect on brain health by benefiting the cardiovascular system.
There we have it.
That's pretty cool. Get some olive oil in.
Why not?
I love my olive oil.
I was like, man, I think I'll live for a long time.
I consume a lot of olive oil.
That's all that we cook with.
Yeah,
oil.
A lot of olive oil. Plus, I eat a lot of olives too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, that's what I grew up in, being Greek. We snacked on tomatoes and olives and feta.
Okay,
and
I'm hungry, Dr. Mike.
Oh, I love it. All right. That's the 3 N's.
Yeah, so olive oil, a multivitamin, cold water swimming.
There you go. Okay.
If you want to live forever-ish.
Now, but there's an out. This is what you don't want. And we've talked about these things before. I don't know about these things.
Are you waiting for my theme music? Dun, dun, dun.
We want to, what's out is long-term use of proton pump inhibitors, PPIs. Yes, it's an out, in my opinion, completely. Want me to just
tell me why?
From a clinical perspective. Well, there's a couple reasons.
Okay.
The main reason is these were formulated to help people with severe reflux, having issues in the esophagus. There's something called a Barrett's esophagus that can happen from all that acid that increases risk for cancer, all that kind of stuff. It was really meant for these people, and it was meant to be short-term and episodic treatment. It was never meant to be a daily pill for a long time. That's one thing. All the research is short episodic. It's not long-term.
All right.
So there's really no long-term data. But the long-term data we're getting is simply by people using it for a long time, and now we're learning of all these things that are happening.
Well, I mean, is it shocking? It's reducing stomach acid production. So
here's the other part of this. Here's just the other part that drives me crazy with this. Half the people on PPIs should have more acid. Here's the thing. If you're eating a meal and you get acid reflux right then, that is too much acid production. That is what a PPI would be for. But there are most people actually get the heartburn later when digestion is really occurring. That is a sign that you could use more acid.
Ooh, Dr. Mike.
So I'm telling you,
you're gonna make some people mad.
No, but I'm telling you, there are people on these PPIs that are on the wrong therapy.
Well, I mean, and going back to the role of the acid, we know it's needed for B12 absorption, associated with low magnesium.
You can't live without it. And the PPIs really knock it out, right? And so people have malabsorption syndromes now. And then they get bone issues. And now it looks like, what? Brain issues.
Potentially, there's the association. And so I don't want to over sensationalize the results of this study. It was published in the journal Neurology in August of 2023. And I don't think there is no cause and effect here. And we have seen some intervention studies that maybe is saying, okay, they're not a problem. But to me, there's too many association studies. They are popping up all over the place.
Right. We got to look at it for sure.
It's worth, one, you asking your doctor, hey, are there other options? What else can I do? You know, the dietary changes, the weight management changes, things that can potentially help to improve your digestion. Figure out what's problematic for you. And if you're not in one of these situations where like you absolutely need it, like you mentioned the Barrett's esophagus, then ask your doctor for other
It's the pill. The pill
options.
popping makes it easy because then I can still eat my pizza with Italian sausage. Which has become a problem for me now. I don't know why, but I can't eat Italian sausage anymore. Anyways, just a little side note. Yeah, mark that down.
Poor you.
And so the result of this, using PPIs for more than 4.4 years, was associated with a 33% increased risk of dementia later in life compared to individuals who didn't use PPIs. Listen, observational, but at some point when the observational data continues to grow, for problems with PPIs, bones specifically, and now brain specifically, at some point we need to look at this in a deeper, more controlled trial, right?
Long-term control trial.
Yep.
And see what's going on.
Yeah.
But for now, what you can do is talk to your GI doctor. If you're buying some of these, they're over the counter. I think that's a part of the problem too.
Yeah. So here you did. Yeah. So it's low B12, low magnesium could be an issue here. PPIs cross the blood-brain barrier, and maybe there's some neurological issues there. And then they also, a recent study showed that they selectively inhibit the enzyme responsible for making acetylcholine. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. And the PPIs cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah. If you can't make acetylcholine, that is not good.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
so,
hey, listen.
Something to consider if you want to live forever-ish.
Yeah. This is not, listen, if you're on a PPI, talk to your doctor about how long you've been on it. Maybe it's time for us to think about other ways and start getting off this PPI. Just have that conversation, I think is what.
I think that's appropriate.
And then we need more research.
That is appropriate.
Across the board. There you go. There's your 3 ins and outs for living forever-ish. Hey, at liveforeverish.com, we got so many websites. liveforeverish.com. Go to that one. Because you can download a bunch more podcasts and you can subscribe so you never miss a show. Comment. We'd love to hear from you. All that kind of good stuff. liveforeverish.com. Now, the other one.
Life Extension.
Lifeextension.com, our sponsor. If you go there and buy whatever you want, and at checkout, you put in the code
Podcast.
podcast. You get 10% off, $50 or more, and free shipping. What's a shipping? Free shipping and handling. That's podcast@lifeextension.com. I'm Dr. Mike.
I'm Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.